Hey folks, this is Kelani. We've talked before about when patches might be released, which has been pretty fun for Legion because of the whole 77-day rule that we had going for a little while there. It almost seemed like we didn't have to guess at all. The dev team have been pretty amazing when it comes to consistent content in this expansion, which is a breath of fresh air after what ended up happening with Warlords of Draenor. Whether that's because the dev team are operating at peak efficiency, or whether they're just promising us less so they can actually deliver on what they say will be coming in patches, who knows, but we'll be rounding out this expansion pretty soon it seems. Patch 735 looks to be our last major patch in the Legion expansion, which ties up the story of the Burning Legion, Sargeras, and the future of Azeroth. So let's have a chat about when we might see this patch hit live servers. Let's start with that golden 77-day rule, which might not be all that golden anymore considering patch 732 didn't really follow suit, but remember that the 77-day rule was for major content patches and raid releases, so patch 732 doesn't have to count if we don't want it to. Sadly, the release of Antorus sort of broke the 77-day rule too, but that's probably because the 77 days would have put the release of Antorus right smack bang in the middle of Thanksgiving preparation, which wouldn't have been a great idea. Not just because of the players not being able to go straight into the new raid, but releasing anything new when practically everyone on the WoW team is on a mini holiday probably wouldn't be ideal. So there might still be a little bit of weight to this old favourite method of looking at future patch releases, even if Blizzard says it's not intended in the slightest. 77 days from the release of Antorus would be February 13th, which is a pretty important date for patch 735 because one of the features coming with the patch is Ulduar Time Walking. So if you didn't experience the Black Temple Time Walking raid, these raids are pretty special because they're only available during their respective expansion's Time Walking event. That means we would need a Wrath of the Lich King Time Walking event to be able to experience the Ulduar Time Walking raid. There's so many weekly events now that the time in between Time Walking is pretty long. The next event is available on February 13th, the same day as the 77-day rule would have us believe might be the release date of patch 735. If you're curious, the next time Wrath of the Lich King Time Walking comes up after the 13th of February is May 22nd, which is quite a ways off at this point. With Ulduar Time Walking being one of the major features coming in patch 735, I doubt they would release it at a time when Wrath Time Walking would be months away, so I think the very latest we could see patch 7.3.5 is February 13th. Even though that's the latest it could release, I don't think that's a likely date to see 735. One of the other major features is the Epilogue of Legion, finishing up the current chapter of our story and leading into the Battle for Azeroth expansion. We'll see what the wound in Silithus means, how we intend to deal with it, and ultimately how we end up losing our artifact weapons. This story will probably be told over quite a few weeks with quests and cinematics which show us how everything fits together, so we can go into the next expansion with a clean slate. To wait as late as February to start that story would mean the expected release date of future content will be pushed back even further, specifically the allied races. I believe we'll see a Battle for Azeroth pre-purchase option when the story of Legion is completed, when the last of the quests go live and we're truly done with Legion. I think that's the time we'll have access to the pre-purchase, which will unlock the allied races that have been data mined with patch 735. That gives us another new shiny thing to tide us over for the long wait for Battle for Azeroth. This is going to be a game of pacing the content, so there's at least something new going on in the world for the next few months. But we're already at the point where players want to sink their teeth into something new, so I think we'll see this patch sooner rather than later. There is one other little hint which could have the patch release as early as next week on January 16th. The patch includes files and info about the Call of the Scarab event. There's new mounts which are only obtainable and usable during that event, which are included in patch 735's payload. So if the patch doesn't land before January 21st, then we won't have access to those new mounts for the event. The only Tuesdays left, so the only potential patch days left, are January 9th and January 16th. We haven't heard anything at all about 735 launching, so it's not coming out tomorrow, or today, depending on when you're watching this, so the only date left is the 16th. Personally, I would have thought we would have heard at least something solid by now if the release date was the 16th, but maybe Blizzard will surprise us and have this patch in our laps earlier than anticipated. So even though the event wouldn't be fully updated, I don't know if the 3-day event is high enough priority to launch an incomplete patch. So I would say the latest this patch would land is February 13th and the earliest is January 16th. If I were a betting man, I'd put my money on either January 16th or maybe January 30th, but I guess only time will tell. There seems to be quite a few things coming with this patch, or what Blizzard intend to include with this patch, which haven't really been tested on the PTR yet at all. None of the quests for any of the storylines or the cinematics have been available on the PTR, so I'm wondering if that would actually go through a round of testing, or whether Blizzard is just happy with in-house testing to get things done. But when do you think the patch will hit live servers, and what are you most excited about in patch 7.3.5? Leave all your thoughts in the comments section below. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.